Hi everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we're having a look at the Sagola Mini Xtreme. Now I thought that I'd uploaded a video about the Sagola Mini Xtreme spray and clear coat years ago. I've had this probably about three and a half years. I'm quite new, well, relatively new to Sagola, but I've had this about 3.5 years, and it was only when someone wrote, I can't remember, it was a message or they wrote something on YouTube, and they were just saying to me that what's it like for clear coat, and I said, well, have a look at the video, and they said they can't find a video, and I couldn't find a video either, so here is the video. So some of this footage is quite old because I still had the footage, but I obviously hadn't put it together as a video. But what I initially do, the first the first probably 1.5 to 2 minutes of footage is the same as on the original base coat video, and it's just showing you that the Sagola Mini Xtreme is not particularly mini. It's not a full size gun, but it's not particularly mini. At the time I didn't have the Meiji Finer core, but it's probably about the same physical size as the Meiji Finer core. So you see the other guns here, that's an LPH 80. It's much bigger than LPH 80, although the LPH 80 is quite small. That's an ANI R160, and you can see it's actually bit, well, hopefully you can see it's bigger than that, and that's a W300, and it's still a little bit bigger than that, not a lot, but a little bit. So it's more of a midi gun, I would say, than a mini gun. But if you look at I did a top 12 minigun video, which I'll put a link in the description, but if you look at that, I haven't actually looked, I can't remember, but I think I put this about 7th or 8th, something like that. And the biggest drawback for me with this, which hasn't changed, oh, see these two caps here, you see me looking at the two caps. The reason for that was that I can't see any difference at all in performance wise or the machining or size or anything of the aqua cap compared to the clear cap. Only the colour is different. One's blue, one's obviously orange, well, really orange. But yeah, I couldn't find any difference between the two. That's why I was looking at them there in that part of the video. But going back to what I was saying about this gun, is the one criticism I have, or the biggest criticism I have, is that it uses a lot of air for a minigun. It uses around about the same amount of air. Well, I suppose it's a minigun, isn't it? But it uses the same amount of air as, say, the W400 Baleria, which is, for me, unexcusable, really, because a lot of people buy miniguns because they have smaller jobs to do, and they are going to be using normally in an environment where the air is more controlled. So there'll be smart repairers operating from a van where there's not loads of air. You know, you're not going to have a 250 litre 28 CFM air compressor in the back of your little van. And people spraying at home and that as well, which aren't going to have the facilities for big air compressors, simply because the amount of current they use, particularly on startup, the current is quite high. So you need normally a 415 or a 3-phase electrical system, although what I do is I actually run two in tandem. So they're both 240 volt and they run on a separate electrical supply, so they can both run together. But yeah, I mean, it draws a lot of air, it uses a lot of air, so that's my main criticism. So at the time when I was doing the top 12 video, I was looking at this gun, and that was a real negative that stuck in my head. But I've since used it a reasonable amount. I've got a lot of different guns, and people will know that watch the channel, I've got a lot of different guns, so nothing gets loads and loads of use really, because there's so much to choose from. But I've used it a reasonable amount, and it's one of those guns that's really grown on me. Supremely well made, not watch-like precision like the Meiji guns, but certainly very, very well made. More sort of on the level of SATA, that sort of thing. Sort of like a bit chunky, a bit clunky, but quite well made and going to last you a reasonable amount of time. That's what this sort of gives the the feeling of, and indeed is. I haven't had any problems with any of my Sagolas. But yeah, the first part of the video here is a 1.0. The second part of the video, which is a different tank, which is basically a flow coat of a candy tank, is in 1.2. Now if you're using it for clear coat, I use this in 1.0 for this part of the video, but it was actually to be in continuity with the base coat video I did, because I used the 1.0 for that, and that would probably be my preferred pairing, which is the truthful for a lot of things really. A 1.0 for base coat, and just something like a 1.2 that flows a bit more for clear coat. But if you have a look at the size of the fan there on the right hand side, you'll see the size of the fan. When you get to the second part of the video, you'll see the fan is quite a bit bigger than with the 1.2. Now both the settings on these guns was full fluid, so the fluid was fully open. They're both set at 2 bar. It runs nicely at 2 bar. I wouldn't see the need to put it any higher than that, because it does give a really good finish at 2 bar, and if you're putting it higher still, you'll be using more air than it will obviously at 2 bar. So 2 bars absolutely fine where it should be. I use it on full fluid, full fan, as I say, at 2 bar or 29 psi, and it runs happily at that, and produces some really good flat finishes if that's what you want. And it's also possible to vary the finish. With most guns you can turn the pressure down a little bit, maybe pull the gun a bit further away from the surface, speed up a bit, whatever you want to do to give you the sort of finish you want. But most people that watch these videos seem to be I was going to say obsessed, that's the wrong thing, seem to be after a flat finish. So if you look at this, it's a pretty flat finish for a 1.0. It's a U-pole clear coat. Throughout this video it's a U-pole clear coat. It doesn't help the guns whatsoever. It doesn't flow particularly well. So if you can get a pretty good finish with the U-pole clear coat, you guaranteed is probably the wrong word, but you're certainly looking at being able to get a better finish with a better quality clear coat, because it just flows out better. And I say it in a lot of my videos, the quality of the clear coat can, in my opinion, make more of a difference than the quality of the gun. Because if you are after a flat finish, all the tiny little particles, when it atomizes, all the tiny little particles hitting the work, they all have to basically mold or flow together, and that's what gives you the flat finish. So the more the clear coat runs out, the better or the flatter the finish you will get. And it's another reason for heating the clear coat as well, because I'll try and remember as well to put a link in the description to a video I did where I was just literally measuring the viscosity of the clear coat, and one is that it's about 8 degrees Celsius. What's that in Fahrenheit? About 44, something like that. Yeah, about 44, 45. And it's just showing you it's for a standard DIN 4 cup, or a Ford 4 as they call it, basically a cup with a 4mm hole in it. And you measure the amount of time that the liquid takes to go through, and that effectively gives you a chance to gauge the viscosity of it. And to actually put your clear coat into a container at 8 degrees Celsius, pour it into the Ford cup, I think it made a difference of about 2.5 times the flow rate. So warming your clear coat up will have a really good effect on it. So if you have a good quality clear coat that you warm up as well, it amplifies that effect as well. So definitely worth doing. I've been using a microwave lately. The last couple of years I've been using a microwave. I do tell people, and I'll say it again, it's not prescribed, it's not the way you should do it. I'm sure there's something that's not ideal about doing it that way, but it's how I do it. It works very effectively. It's extremely quick, and I haven't found anything detrimental at all. Some chap was actually having a go at me. Maybe having a go at me is a bit strong, but he was trying to have words about the effect it would have on the material. And and I mean, I haven't seen any effect on the material, to be fair, apart from the fact that it warms it up, which is what you want to do, and it makes the clear coat flow out much better. Also makes it go off faster, so be careful if you've got the side of a car to do or something. You don't want to warm it up too much, because you don't want it to start going off before you've finished the pot. But certainly, I mean, I've used, well, 500 millilitres warmed up to 35 degrees Celsius at a temperature of about 26, 27, and it's perfectly usable for 2 full coats. That amount of fluid, and that's basically all you're going to get in a pot anyway, isn't it? Is 500-600 millilitres. So yeah, I haven't found a problem with it, but it does help it to go off quicker, which helps cut down on runs, etc., and helps cut down on nibs, because the quicker you can get it to get the material to go off, the less chance of something landing in it or flying in it, and it being viscous enough for it to actually, you know, land in it and make an impression on it. So I think you'll agree here. This is a flow coat of a candy paint job I did. We've got a little bit of stuff outside, although it's not actually in the sun, so it doesn't do it real justice. But the gun really does lay it on really nice. And if you look to the right there, or you should have looked to the right, if you look to the right a bit early, you'd have seen the size of the pattern, which I was talking about before. It's actually quite a bit bigger. But here's the final job anyway. It's a really flat paint job, this one. This is exactly how it comes off the gun. Nothing's been touched or anything. I leave these a couple of days so that the initial shine has gone slightly, so that you can see it more for what it will be rather than what it was, if that makes sense. But yeah, a really good gun. Only let down by the poor air consumption, but it should last you years and years. Bit expensive these days, to be fair, but that depends where you live. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video as always. Bye bye.